For this next lesson, we're going to start with a supplied file, change. This file contains a second toolpath group, and it has several stock ready for some additional finishing. Since we've already covered toolpaths, we're not going to focus as much on the roughing of this side, but we want to focus in order to clear out some of these areas. We've already taken a look at using the spiral toolpath on the opposite side of this part. Different types of surface finishing options for 3D parts. Expanding the gallery and selecting the finishing waterline. The water at differing Z steps in the toolpath, such as an object. So we're going to use this to create a constant. We're going to step down the curvature of our part. Floor and wall stock to leave to 0, and then I want to select machine. In this case, faces. Next, we need to determine whether or not we want any avoidance regions, things where we do. In this case, I want to make sure that we avoid hitting those bolts, avoid machining the top and bottom surfaces. From here, we can include the silhouette boundary of the part, or we can add additional boundary chains. If we add boundary chains, we can take a look at some of the boundary levels that we could use. For example, if we navigate through some of and containment regions. So inside of here, there's a level 120. This is an sized off of the silhouette boundary of that area. And we're on our wireframe mode, and then simply select one of those edges. Okay. We're going to use this as the tool contact point rather than the tool tip. For our tool, we're going to be using either a 3/8 ball end mill or a rounded corner. For this example, we're going to be using tool number 11, the 3/8 ball. Waterline. From here, we're not going to work for now, and we're just going to take a look at what the toolpath looks like. For cut parameters, there's a step. There's also a corner rounding option. We're going to be using the Add Cuts option. Finishing toolpaths, I like to use larger values to create it, and then I can go back and find surfaces. But oftentimes when we first get finishing tool passes, and that just increases the time it takes to calculate and even see if this is the right for the job. Now I'm going to turn off the add cuts, but we will come back and make some changes. We also have a tangential ramp, and we have a ramp option, weight option. We're going to leave this default, and then we're going to move on to steep. Allows us to determine what our max and min Z values can be between 0 and 90 degrees. If we wanted to avoid cutting horizontal or vertical walls, we also have the Z depth, and we can detect limits or manually. For the maximum depth, I'm going to use Z on the keyboard, point on this bottom face. The minimum I'm not too worried about because focus in on a certain area and avoid cutting too much geometry. We could restrict it. Linking parameters, the main thing that I want to do here is reduce my clearance height to also manually pick a point, for example, value is. Notice that it's set to absolute, and if we want to set it to by wherever the current position of that tool is. So keep in mind again, fixture, and it has a G54 location. So the Z value or not at the top of the part like it was in the first operation. So it is an important consideration created to make sure that we understand this. From here, we're going to take a look at what the toolpath actually looks like. Region, navigate back to the toolpath, and let's take a look at that was. So one thing you'll notice is waterline inside of these and going around those surfaces. While that won't necessarily be a problem, it just means extending past where we're really trying. So this tells me that we might have a containment boundary. In order to do that, we can go back into the parameters of the toolpath. We can go back to our toolpath and change the boundary chains. And in this case, but we're going to be using the partial edge. We can start by selecting the edges. You might need to zoom in or use to just carry tangency and make sure we're not cutting at branch points. Here, go to the branch point and then continue to extend. We're going to go carry across. Need to go to the branch point, carry back down until we keep the tool within that specific region and boundary. So let's go ahead and recalculate. We might need to include those opening pockets or as avoidance regions if we want to keep the tool from dropping down into there. So we can see the tool is still wrapping inside of those pockets. However, it's not wrapping outside. This tells me that our containment boundary needed to be more defined. So again, we can come back in and make some boundary chain and reselect it. Again, but this time I'll start inside of here and I'll simply traverse along with the tangency. When I get to this branch point, I'll make sure that I'll work my way down around. Once again, at the branch point, we'll follow the branch. Make sure that we're going down around these faces. And again, here at the branch point, we want to make sure that we're going the appropriate direction. And then again, at the branch point, we'll be going up the part. Once we get to the end, we can simply say OK. And now we've adjusted our containment boundary, so that way the tool needs to stay inside of these regions. Let's regenerate it one more and take a look at the result. So now we can see the results on the screen. We no longer have the tool going into those open pockets. You can see that we've got some transition, some linking parameters where it wraps around and does a lead in and lead out on those areas. And of course, we can change the way that it interacts with this as well. We can have it extend past those boundaries a little bit or change the containment for the tool. And those are all in the parameters of the toolpath. For example, we're compensating to the center of the tool right now, but we could also compensate to the outside and add an additional amount if we wanted to. And each time you make these changes, you want to make sure that you go in and recalculate it. And this is why it's important to have your cut parameters set to a higher value. So once you're happy with the results of the toolpath, then you can come in and fine tune the step downs as well as the add cuts to get those micro movements that we are. Also go in parameters and full vertical to minimum. We can go to the distance value. I'm going to recalculate this one last time with those final changes, the cuts, and changing the way that we're actually doing those lifts. And we can see that simply changing the compensation allows the tool to go back inside of that pocket. So there are a couple different things that we could do here. We could actually have it cut the pocket. We could change the values of, in this case, the step downs and make sure that we're cutting into that pocket and doing a final finishing pass on it. Or again, we can restrict the movement so that it's centered on the tool and it's not extending past that boundary. It really depends on the geometry that you're cutting and what you want to use it for. But once you're done playing around with these parameters and making adjustments and seeing how they change, it's always a good idea to just do a quick backplot to see where the tool is going back and forth and see if you have any potential collisions. Later on in our course, we will be talking more about simulation and verify and figuring out if we have any contacts between the holder and the tool itself. And in this case, I can tell because we're wrapping into that pocket, we're likely going to see some collisions with the holder. But those are all things that we're going to identify and address later on in the course. So for right now, make sure that you save this before moving on to the next step.